So you may have heard of Fredericksburg's Economic Development Authority, or EDA, and on this week's edition, the chair of the EDA is going to tell us more about this great organization. So on this week's edition, we're in City Hall in the suite, which is where the Economic Development Authority of the city of Fredericksburg has traditionally held its meetings. And I'm with Will McIntosh, who is the chair of the Fredericksburg Economic Development Authority, or EDA, and Amy Paragoy, who is our Economic Development Specialist and who is the primary staffer to our EDA. And this week we wanted to tell you more about what the EDA does. The EDA does a lot, and a lot of people don't necessarily know that, and so we wanted to tell you more about that. So Will is the chair. We asked him just to tell us a little bit more about the EDA. So I guess we'll just start off general and just tell us about what the EDA is and what its mission is.
Well, so the Fredericksburg EDA, we are a public entity, but we're not part of city government. We are quasi-independent, I think you might say. And our mission is to act as a catalyst for responsible economic growth in the city of Fredericksburg. We receive funding. Most of our funding comes from bond revenues because we have the ability to issue tax-advantaged public bonds for projects that are in the public interest. And when we do issue those bonds, we take a small percentage as a fee, which serves as our funding source. So we have a revenue source that is not tax dollars that we are then charged with using for to pursue the responsible economic development in the city of Fredericksburg.
Okay. And so it's, again, a separate entity from the city, but the city council appoints the members. So who are the members of the EDA?
So the EDA has 7 members, and like you said, they're appointed by council, right? So we are accountable to city council at the end of the day. I'm the chair. Susie Stone is the vice chair. Lee Murray is the treasurer. Mitzi Brown is the secretary. And then the additional members are Beth Black, Chris Waller, and Susan Ritchie.
Okay. Great group of members, business owners and community members.
Yep. We represent a range of small business owners and different professions, specialties in finance and real estate. And I work at Mary Washington, so higher education. Right, it's a real cross-section of the sort of like economic strengths of Fredericksburg as a city, and it's a really great group. It's very active and engaged and involved, and I think it's a great group of people. Yeah,
absolutely. So talk through some of the again, the EDA has done a lot, but sort of hit some of the highlights, some of the big projects that the EDA has done that people are familiar with in our community.
So most recently, I think the thing that we're most proud of was how quickly we responded to the COVID crisis. To step in and support particularly small businesses in the city of Fredericksburg. Between our funding and funding that City Council put up for this project, we spent almost $1 million over the course of the pandemic trying to support small businesses in the city. And we did that in a variety of ways. We gave direct grants to small businesses, particularly early on in the pandemic when a lot of them were closed, to try to help them through that tough time. And then as things began to reopen, we instituted some gift card programs where we used our funds to buy gift cards from businesses and then resell them to the public at a discounted rate as a way to get some cash flow to our city's small businesses and to encourage people to come out and begin patronizing them again as things were opening up. So like I said, we spent between our funds and funds that council appropriated for that purpose. We spent almost $1 million in support of small business in the city.
That's fantastic. And so some of the other projects kind of around town that, that the EDA has put money into over the years.
Probably you walking around the city of Fredericksburg, you're regularly coming across things that we've had a hand in supporting. Right? We dedicate a lot of resources to supporting small business. Right? For example, Liberty Town, right, which is a real favorite, benefited from a 5-year grant from us when it was getting started. Strange Ways Brewing out on Lansdowne Road, we made a pretty significant $150,000 grant to them, which was able to leverage $150,000 in funding from the state. It was a matching grant, so our money was able to unlock state money to bring that great business to the city. More recently, Haley's Honey Meadery, which just opened, was supported by the renovation of their building was supported by an EDA facade grant. And also, they received a loan from our small business loan program that we call Invest FXBG. And that's a program where we use EDA funds to make low interest, small dollar amount loans to small businesses who are looking to get started in the city. Kickshaw's Kitchen in Central Park is another example of a small business outside of downtown that received an Invest FXBG loan that helped it to open. And we work with those business owners to get them the capital they need up front to realize their dreams, right? And then charge them low rates of interest, right? Also, some bigger stuff, right? That we've been involved with over the course of the past few years, right? Some big projects that are really remaking the city of Fredericksburg we've been involved with. For example, the Fred Nat Stadium. We used our financial resources to facilitate the agreement between the Fred Nats and the city that allowed the Fred Nats to get the financing for that stadium, right? So some EDA dollars helped put that deal together. And then we actually issued the bonds for that stadium as a project in the public interest. So we were able to facilitate the financing of the construction of the Fred Nat Stadium. The library's makerspace, their new makerspace on Princess Anne, we gave the library a 5-year grant to help support the opening of that great new resource on Princess Anne Street. We were really excited about that project because it's a way to bring STEM education to people in Fredericksburg, right? Kids, students, and adults. And we also were excited because we thought it could be a real catalyst to redevelopment on the Princess Anne corridor, right? To bring back to life that quarter of the city in the Mill District. So we're really excited to support that project. We were involved, and this is going back a number of years, right? In the very early stages of creating Riverfront Park. We gave a $200,000 grant to the city to help facilitate the purchase of some of the land that is now just opened as Riverfront Park. So the EDA was involved in that one. If you've seen the public sculpture project around the city, the EDA has provided probably close to $75,000 over the course of the past few years to help get that project launched, sort of seed funding to help it become self-sustaining. The former Stellar One Bank building on the corner of Amelia and Charles Street, the EDA, when that Stellar One Bank moved out of that building, the EDA actually purchased that building so that we could give the parking to the city, so it would become a public parking lot. And then we turned around and resold the building back to a private user again. So that was a really exciting opportunity for us because we were able to support downtown businesses and Fredericksburg residents by moving that parking lot to become public parking and increasing the supply of public parking along the William Street corridor. And then we were able to put that building back into the private sector again, back into private hands, and bring a new business downtown to occupy that space. The EDA also takes seriously as part of its mission workforce development. I think a big part of having a healthy and growing and sustainable economy in Fredericksburg is making sure that we have our people are trained up for the kinds of jobs that are coming in the 21st century. And so the EDA supports efforts to help our Fredericksburg residents get trained and for the jobs of the future. So for example, we gave $125,000 over the course of 5 years to Germanna Community College to open FredCat, the Fredericksburg Center for Advanced Technology in Central Park, which is a great facility that they use to do sort of workforce training. We've also financially supported their expansion of their nursing and allied health programs, which is out at the Locust Grove campus, right? But which serves certainly the economy of the city of Fredericksburg to make sure that our residents can get trained for careers in kind of growing healthcare fields. So we've been a big supporter of Germanna and its workforce development efforts. We support events that bring business to the city of Fredericksburg. We just recently, in September, gave a grant of $20,000 to the Virginia Black Business Expo at the Expo Center, which brought businesses from all around the state of Virginia together to sort of display and advertise and network. So we were very excited to support that effort back in September. we given a $25,000 grant for 3 years recently to the Marine Corps Historic Half Marathon to help ensure that the Marine Corps Historic Half keeps being run in Fredericksburg, and that's the kind of event that we're really excited to support because it brings an enormous economic spin-off, sort of economic benefits spinning off to the city of Fredericksburg. It brings so many people here to see what a great city we have, and they stay in our hotels and dine in our restaurants and shop in our stores, right? So that we consider the support of events like the Marine Corps Historic Half to be a kind of investment because the city sees enormous benefit from in terms of publicity and in terms of just direct economic spin-off from those kinds of big events.
Absolutely. Well, it's quite a list, and something that the EDA should certainly be proud of, and hopefully helps raise awareness of just all the amazing things that the EDA does do. So, again, we talked about that the EDA is separate from the city, but obviously we work closely together, the EDA and the city. Yeah. So just talk through kind of how that works.
Well, I mean, I think the example I started with talking about the COVID response was a really great example of the EDA and City Council rowing on the same oar to address a situation, each putting some of our funds into a common pot to respond to a crisis. So we work with council on issues like that. But we have a jointly adopted economic development strategic plan, which is available on our website. Anyone can download it and look at what the shared goals of the EDA and City Council are. That was adopted in 2017, and we're actually currently initiating a process to update that strategic plan because it's been 4 or 5 years since that happened. Another great example of the kind of partnership that the EDA and City Council can do is more recently is that we've worked together and again pooled our funds to support businesses along the Route 1 corridor with the renaming of the highway. That we put up some of our money and City Council put an appropriation of their money to give to businesses to help them defray the costs of the coming name change in January, because we wanted to make sure that change didn't affect city businesses who happen to be located around that corridor. So we try to work together with council as much as we can towards shared goals. And when opportunities arise, we partner on specific programs in the city. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to in my chairmanship is developing that relationship even further, right? And building on that model and seeing how we can leverage the resources that the EDA can bring to the table with existing public resources to have a greater impact on the city.
Yeah. Well, and then just kind of final question, you already touched on this a little bit, but going forward, what do you see as some of the things and goals that you hope that the EDA can accomplish for let's say, the next 5 years?
Well, like I said, we have a really great group of people serving on the EDA right now, people with a lot of big ideas and a lot of energy. And I think that we are really excited about trying to do big transformative projects for the city of Fredericksburg as much as possible. I think in the short term, one thing we're very focused on, I should say in the short to medium term, one thing we're very focused on is tourism promotion. There's a real sense among the EDA members that the tourist market is shifting in the post-COVID era, right? That we need to be agile and responsive to kind of shifting tourism patterns in our region. And we want to be sure that Fredericksburg is well positioned to take advantage of that. So that's going to be one of our real areas of focus in the short to medium term is rethinking and supporting the city and your department as they think through tourism promotion in the post-COVID era. Longer term, I think something that this group is very interested in is thinking about sort of supporting businesses in neighborhood corridors around the city outside of downtown. So in places like the Princess Anne corridor or the Lafayette corridor or the Dixon Street corridor or the Fall Hill corridor, right? Some of those neighborhood commercial nodes outside of downtown, but that serve as the sort of entrances to downtown, and seeing what we can do to spark revitalization and development in some of those areas of the city. So that's something that the EDA is beginning to make more serious kind of long-term plans about. There are some things that we are keeping on our radar. Workforce development, right? Like I mentioned a moment ago, is something that we're always looking for opportunities for the EDA to participate in. And certainly the planning process that's going on around Small Area 1 out in Central Park and Celebrate Virginia South, that sort of planning process is working its way through the Planning Commission and City Council right now. But I think that's something that the EDA is paying very close attention to and looking for opportunities to, where we can support that reimagining and that re-envisioning of that part of our city, which is incredibly economically vital. And vital to our city's economic health.
So, any final thoughts about anything you'd like to add that we haven't already mentioned about the EDA and the role that it plays?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for doing this interview. I think the EDA is a really important body and does really important work in Fredericksburg, but I think we often do it sort of behind the scenes because we don't use tax dollars. Right, and we try to support businesses from like I said, from behind the scenes. So I really appreciate this opportunity to talk a little bit more publicly about what the EDA does, because I think it's really exciting and it's really vital, and it's nice to be able to share the news about what we do in our monthly meetings here in the suite.
Happy to have had you do that, and Amy stayed quiet, but Amy's the kind of one of the key players in the EDA, making sure everything stays organized and everything gets done. And
absolutely,
so
yeah. We couldn't do it.
She was here.
She keeps us on track. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again for doing this.
All right, and thank you.
And thank you, Amy, for being with us as well. And that'll do it for this week's edition. So we appreciate you watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Fred Focus newsletter, and we'll keep you up to date on all the great things happening in the city of Fredericksburg. See you next week.